Alright, so in this video, we're going to be going over a couple things of just getting the general idea of variables. So I'm going to get a fresh slate here on my online compiler. I'm just going to reload the page. Yes, I don't care about saving the data. Alright, and give myself a little bit more space here. Let this guy load up. There we go. Okay. So remember, I'm just going to put a little bit of white space in here. So right now, what this program does is prints hello world to screen, okay? But instead, I want it to print a username. So I could just type in the username right here, and now when I run this program, it's going to say hello Adam, which is great, but this program only works for users of Adam now. So what I want to do instead is not use a hard-coded value of Adam, but instead make that a variable. So first things first, I'm going to create a variable. And just type what I type right now. I'll explain it briefly a little bit after, and then we'll explain it a lot more in future videos. But like I said, just type what I type for now. I'm going to type in string, kind of like just a piece of string. It's going to have a capital S, and then it's going to be username, and then space equals, and then a set of double quotes. Notice how when I type in one double quote, it automatically entered in a second double quote. And then I'm going to type in the value of Adam, get outside the double quote, and terminate it with a semicolon. Obviously, you can put your own name or whatever name you desire to put in there. So now, I have this value, which if I double click it and highlight it, you'll see it's the exact same as this value over here. So I now have assigned the value of what I want the user's name to be to a variable called username. So that's what this equal is here. That means I have assigned this value to this username here. This string right here, this is the variable data type, and we will get into data types in the next lesson. So just know that this type of data right here, this value right here, is a type of string. Its data type is just the name called string. Like I said, we'll get into that later on. But anyways, you'll see I have this little green squiggly line under here. And what this is essentially telling us is the program's trying to help us out a little bit. It's saying, hey, you created this variable called username. You have told me as the program, you have said that you wanted the program to save a little bit of space, to allocate a little bit of space in memory to store this username variable, but you're not actually using it, so you're just kind of wasting space right now. You're wasting computer resources. So that's all this error message is telling you. It's not really an error message. It's more just like a helpful note saying, hey, you created this variable, but you're not actually using him, so did you actually mean to make him? Did you actually mean to use him? What's going on here? Just helping us out. It doesn't error out in any way. Our program could still run just normally fine. Moving on, though. So now I want to remove this hard-coded value and replace it with the variable, essentially. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to keep the space in there, and now I'm going to concatenate this. This is called a string literal. I'm going to concatenate this string literal with, and concatenate sort of means like join. I'm going to join or add together this string with this string here. And now, as we would expect, now it's going to do the exact same thing as it did before. So when I run that, it should still print out hello Adam. And take a minute to run here. There we go. Hello Adam looks just like it did before, which is great, because now we are no longer essentially hard coding in the literal value of Adam. We have assigned it to a variable. But the problem with this right now is that we are still essentially hard coding in this variable, though. This program still only runs for usernames of Adam. So how can I get this program to essentially change the username every time it runs? Well, let's imagine our example program again, like logging into Facebook. When you log into Facebook, it essentially prompts you for your username and password. So let's go ahead and try and simulate that same functionality here. When the user logs in, we want to prompt user for username. So to do that, we're just going to print to the screen, and we're going to say system.out.println again. And then what do we want to print? We'll just say enter your username. Okay. Give myself a little bit more space so it's all contained in one line. And now here, we want to get users input. Well, how do we do that? Well, I could just very easily show you, or you could even just go over here and copy the code. But a better way of doing that is to teach you guys how to figure it out on your own, essentially. So how do we get user input in Java? Well, let's ask the Google. How to get user input in Java. And when we type that in, or really when you type in any computer programming related question, you will eventually come across a website called Stack Overflow. And this is a great website. It's essentially a giant repository. It's kind of like Reddit. It's a giant repository of questions and answers of other people who have asked questions in computer programming before, and other people have answered it. So you'll see someone asked 8 years ago, how can I get the user input in Java? That's exactly what we want to know. At least 307 people found this question useful, and then someone has answered this, and at least 316 people have found this answer useful, and this was also the accepted answer here, which is what this green checkmark shows. So we can probably assume that this answer is pretty credible, and they suggest that we use the scanner class. So right out of the gate, I'm just going to copy this code here, and I'm going to paste it, but inside of a block comment. That way, this code doesn't actually execute in our program, but I can still see what the code was supposed to be doing. So with that, what is this code actually doing? Well, first thing is it's importing our scanner class. So what does this mean? Okay, when we first run our Java program, or any Java program, Java's going to give us a couple things for free. Like, we get classes, we get these keywords here, public functions, static functions, functions that return void. Again, we'll cover what all of that means in section 6, but we get strings, we get the system out, print line. Java gives us a lot of these things just right out of the box, because a lot of programs use similar basic functions. However, not all programs use this scanner class. Again, remember, class is kind of just like a file, kind of like a tool, essentially, maybe even. We'll get into classes later on down the course, but not every program needs this particular scanner class, so we need to manually import it in order to use it in our program. All right, so now that we have our scanner class available to us, now we need to create a scanner object. So that's what this code here does. So we are now going to then just create a scanner object. Okay, so I'm going to, similarly like how we did a variable, we created the variable type, gave the variable a name, and then assigned that variable a certain value. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a scanner object, a scanner variable, if you will. We're going to give that scanner variable a name, and then we're going to assign it a new scanner object that accepts input of system.in. We want this scanner to accept system input. All right, same thing now. We see the green squiggly line just means that we have created this variable, but we never actually used it. So now how do we use it? Well, we've done that. Now how do we get the input for that? That's going to be this line here, essentially. Very simple. What they did is they created a string variable named s, and the data type is string, and they assigned that the value of the scanner object that we created, and just use this function here. Again, remember, it's a function because it's got the two parentheses there. It doesn't accept any arguments, but it's just the next function. So we're going to do that. We already have a variable here, so we're just going to replace this value now instead with scan dot. And notice when I type in dot, that means I want to use a function within this object here. And you see this online compiler sort of gives us all these different function names that are available to us. The one we are interested in, again, though, is the dot next. So terminate that line of code by the semicolon. And I can delete this block comment, try and clean up my code a little bit here. And let's see what happens now. So let's go over what our program is doing exactly now. And now this isn't its own step anymore. Now this step and this step are essentially in one. So I'm going to create username with user's input. And now I can sort of delete this step here. And now our program's a little bit easier to read. So again, we are going to import the scanner class, and then we create the scanner object. Again, variable type, variable name equals variable value. We're going to prompt the user to type in their username. We're going to capture that username, that value that they entered in. We're going to capture that, and we're going to save it to the variable named username. And then we're just going to print the variable name, just like we did before. Let's go ahead and run this program, and we're going to see this in action. Enter your username. My username is Adam, and I will press enter. And now it says, hello Adam, just like it did before. Now the great thing is, though, is that this program will run for anyone. I don't have to create a separate program for Tiffany or for Bob. Tiffany can just use the same exact program. And Bob could also use the same program. You know, millions of other people with millions of different names can use this program also. This one program can be used for unlimited amount of people now. So that's essentially why variables are so important. In the next video, we're going to be going over, you know, what this really meant here again, and but rather the different data types. Again, the string is a data type of the variable. So in the next video, we're going to be learning about all the different, few of the different types, data types of variables available to us in the Java programming language. So see you all there.